Hey, this is Angie Chamber from the Vex Forum. Sorry if I sound tired or whatever. I just realized I had my license plate upside down for the entire competition. Oh, sorry, the entire finals. Good job, me. It's dark outside, late at night. I have a light here so you can see better. I'm going to try to not swear at all for this. This is my fifth take without swearing. For the Vex Forum, because apparently you can't do that on the Vex Forum because it sucks. Yeah, let's start with the mobile goal transmission. I'm doing a mobile goal transmission, obviously. It's 84 tooth gears with 12 tooth gears, and I'm using turbo motors, 4 of them on the transmission and then 2 of them on the drive. If you want to know about how these work, you should definitely check out either one of my older videos on these. I believe in one of them I explain how it works, or head to the Vex Forum and look up stuff and try to find this post. I forgot who made it. I think it was like Technic3K or something. He made a really good forum post that compiles pretty much all of my videos and everyone's videos about how these work, how they've made them, how to make your own, the risks and benefits of using them, and just overall talking a lot about them. So if you have any confusion about them or if you want to know more about them, check out that forum post. Yeah. So those go into these 3.25-inch wheels, which I've mounted on the bottom of my robot with pillow bearings, which if you do that, it will make it a lot easier to go over the starting bar / 10-point zone bar, because there's actually a lot more distance between the wheels and the bottom of your robot, so that way it can actually go over it much easier. That didn't make much sense, but that's how it works. And speaking of which, my chassis, do not do what I did if you're going to have a double reverse 4-bar. Just don't make it 25 wide. You can copy everything else, just don't make it 25 wide. It will make your life so much more difficult. Try not to swear here. Because if you're going to be building a double reverse 4-bar at the top of it, you're going to be having a lot of trouble trying to make it stack. Because even though I used a lot of advanced building techniques, including using discontinued parts like these nut bar thingies, using techniques which I think I'm the first to use maybe, where you like shave down a thing, an L channel, so actually run inside of another thing. You can see there's actually no space in between there. I was not able to make it work as well as I wanted to, and after 5 cones it starts knocking the cones off, so I'm sometimes able to get 6. 7 is not really feasible, and anything after 7 is completely impossible because it'll just knock the cones off, even though I've added guide rails on the inside here. And if I make it any wider on the inside here, it'll actually knock on the inside of these because there's just not enough space because I made it 25 wide because I'm an idiot. Speaking of lifts, this is my lift. It is right now only controlled by PID on one side. I found it's not necessary for my lift to have it on both sides. You can see this one's not chained up. And that's because if I try to tilt it over like this, it self-corrects because it's not very wide at all. But if you're having a lift that is any wider than this, definitely have PID running on both sides of your lift, or anything really, that will stabilize your lift, so if it starts tilting over, it'll correct itself. I've seen many competitions, many teams at many competitions where their lifts just don't work and they can't stack or do anything with a robot that would normally be able to do that because their lifts are constantly falling over and not staying upright. And it's a very easy fix to do. You just need to add things that detect the position of the lift on both sides and have it regulate itself so it won't tip itself. Anyway, if you're going to be building an ultralight lift that I did, I insist, don't follow my footsteps, never Swiss cheese, any of the actual lift arms. Maybe at the end here you can Swiss cheese it a little bit like I did, but never Swiss cheese, especially on these bottom bars. And the bottom bars, please use full C channels. Even like with my ridiculous ratio of 1:5 turbo, which is ridiculously fast, and honestly you don't really need any faster than that because your top 4-bar and your driving won't be able to keep up. It broke. Yep. So if you're not going to be listening to that advice, at least please just use the full C channel on whatever is driving it, okay? Okay. Moving on to how I made this. Well, sorry, not how I made this, but my lift itself. I made it out of C channels, which I cut in half. If you're going to be using 1x-L, which is what the Vex community has decided to call these, if you're going to be cutting it from an actual C channel, like the 2 wide ones, down the middle, you're going to have a little bit of a problem because those will cause it to be warped. I have recognized this, and you have to bend it back into a straight shape, which sucks. Additionally, you get these little notches on the other side here, which actually make it a little bit weaker than if you were to cut it out of something like 3 wide. 3 wide will make it not have the warping issue, and it'll be a little bit stronger as well. Although I don't sell anodized 3 wide, and I also stopped selling anodized 2 wide because reasons I don't really want to get into right now. This is not the video for that. Let's see, what's some other things? Mount everything that's heavy lower on your robot than I did. I mounted my pneumatics tanks like this. I could have easily mounted them down here, but I didn't. And if I mounted them down here, then my center of gravity would be lower, and I wouldn't have tipped the 2 times I tipped at the competition that I went to just now. I also had a lot of people PMing me on the forums about why their lift doesn't work very well, or like why their top part skips, and why are things bending here. So what you want to do is make the distance, sorry, not the distance, the shaft length here as small as possible, because the longer the shaft is, because of physics and the force there, they will bend, and the more and more, the wider they are. And if you have them small enough like these, you can actually use screws, which will not bend as easily as shafts do, which I'm using, except on this one apparently. I apparently use a screw there, I'm sorry, a shaft there. I should be using screws on the other ones. But yeah, if you want them to not bend, if you want your lift to not skip at all, make your shafts a lot thinner because, yeah, not thinner, not as wide. Yeah, these I forgot to put, I just realized I forgot to put friggin' spacers on these. Good job, me. Yeah, bracing your lift. If you're having a lift that isn't, that's wider than my current lift, you want to have a lot more bracing on it than what I have. Mine, since it's so not wide, that's not the right word, since it's so thin, it doesn't need that much bracing. I only need these 2 bars here. But if you're having something wider than this, definitely use a lot more bracing. And another note is that if you're going to be using bracing and spamming it a lot, adding a brace between here and here, unless if you have a lot of rubber band force, doesn't do anything. There's literally no reason to do it unless if you have rubber bands on that pair, and if they're enough to bend it, or if you're having problems with this not sharing the load properly, there's no reason to do it. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, top 4 bar and intake. So the top 4 bar, I have it pneumatic, and the reason why I decided to choose pneumatic is for 2 main reasons. The first reason is because if you're using pneumatics, you actually have more power to use on the rest of your robot, because you won't be using as much motor power, because all the motor power that isn't being used from the 2 motors that you don't have can be used for anything else. So your robot will be running faster for longer. Harder, better, faster, stronger. And secondly, it's because it's just faster, because there's nothing faster than pneumatics. Pneumatics are faster than motors, there's no way around it. For the 2 motors you have, if you're having 2 pistons, then they will be faster with rubber band return. I probably could have Swiss cheesed this. I decided not to because I didn't want that to break at all, because it does slam down and do stuff a lot. About passive intakes. If you're going to be doing something like I did, definitely credit your robot, because I'm having a lot of people refer to my intake, well, this intake specifically, as my intake. I actually just copied 7700R's intake. But if you are going to be shamefully copying other people like I do sometimes, try to make at least a little bit of a modification and make it better, and then share it if it's public. If you got these leaks by yourself, don't share it. But this, you want to, if you're going to be building a 7700R intake, something I noticed is that If you're going to, especially if you're using a pneumatic outtake or intake thing here, you want to make this part as thin as possible. Well, not as thin as possible, but a lot thinner than what they did. Probably about like, what is this, like 3/4 of an inch up here and 1/2 inch down here, because that will make it let go of the cones much easier. And having as little force as needed to let go of the cones is essential for having a pneumatic, well, when you have a pneumatic 4-bar at the top, because the more force it takes, the more air you're going to be using, and more air being used means that you get less cones you can stack in total. Speaking of which, 4 bars at the top. I have mine currently 17 1/2-inch units long, and I think that's a little bit too long because I don't get as many actuations as I would like to. I can only realistically stack around 18 cones before it starts to slow down to the point where it's difficult to stack cones and it's unreliable. And that's simply because of the fact that the longer this is, the harder the piston has to push for the same amount of motion for this, for the end of the thing or whatever. I swear it a little bit. Okay, I could probably bleep that out. That's so close. Yeah, along with things that come with having a really thin base as well is that you can't really support these towers very well, and your entire thing will shake, which is why I'm not able to stack it all if I'm turning, which is a bad thing. Yeah, can't really think of anything else to say. Thanks for watching.